Hey there, welcome to another episode of Mr. Tiger Drop Films. That's right, today I got another Yakuza video for you. And here at Mr. Tiger Drop Films, I'm your source for all things Yakuza, Like a Dragon, and more. Today I wanted to have a fun video and talk about my personal top 5 Coliseum game modes from across the Yakuza franchise. These Coliseum modes are a great way to just explore the combat on your own free will, goof around, experiment, and take on the challenge of testing your inherent skill with having no access to inventory such as healing items and no gear either. And the only weapons you get are the ones they can give you in certain modes. All in all, Coliseum's a great way just to hone in and enjoy the combat in a premium adventure setting or just trying to round out the free roam experience. So here's going to be my top 5. I know when it comes to combat, there's newer games that are more modern that people will probably jump to putting in their top 5, and that's fine. For me, I like both the new and old games. There's a lot of things about the old games that still resonate to me that I like in terms of more arcadey feel, but all in all, the Coliseum game modes are a great way just to have fun in the free roaming modes. So join me with my top 5 and let me know in the comments what your favorites are. I love to hear them. So let's get the punching and get into it. At the number 5 spot, I have Yakuza 0. Now, Yakuza 0's Coliseum is one I really enjoy. It's cool playing as Kira and Majima when they're younger, and even unlocking their Dragon Dojima and Mad Dog Shimano fighting styles respectively add another layer of replayability to the Coliseum mode. I also quite like that it's in Sotenbori for once, being in the bed of sticks, right in the middle of the map underneath the river bed. Now, when it comes to actual design of the bed of sticks Coliseum, it is cool, but being underwater doesn't really factor into the actual arena you're in, but nonetheless, cool arena. It's on the ground, a bit different from your Purgatory arenas, but it's cool here. You get modes like the fire one and weapon switching, and of course, some gauntlets. And then there's a few modes where random drops will fall in from the sky and give you you or your opponent a buff or debuff, and I quite like that. A few nitpicks is that for this era of the engine, Kira Majima, if they get stabbed or shot or what have you, certain attacks will cause them like the wince and get to their knees, and I think that's just a little tedious going back to Yakuza 0. They're not my preferred way of having the combat, but it's fine here as they're younger. And then when it comes to, it's just not, for me, as much of an interesting Coliseum as some of the other ones in the series, but it still has a few positives, like having a more robust, interesting cast of fighters. Looks like a Chucky-looking guy, a Scarecrow-looking guy, a few, hunter guys, psychos, and you have a freaking bear. So technically, if you start with 0, you can fight a bear even before you get the Yakuza 5. How about that? But all in all, Yakuza 0 is up by number 5 spot when it comes to Coliseum game modes. But there's still a good amount of variety here, and is one that I do enjoy returning to. Then, at my number 4 spot, I have Kiwami 2. Now, Kiwami 2 is a game that added bouncer missions as another way just to have fun fighting guys when you really just want to pick up a Yakuza game and fight, since the original Yakuza 2 didn't have climax battles. But even with the bouncer missions there in Kiwami 2, the Coliseum mode we got in Purgatory still stands on its own as another way just to fight. Much like, Yakuza, the original 1 and 2 had Coliseum modes, but here in Kiwami 2, I like the little twist of having the old school wrestlers we see, these famous guys like Chono, appear in Kiwami 2, and then they also get to appear in the Coliseum. I'm glad they didn't just waste them on, one-time Majima construction boss fights. No, it's cool fighting him here. And then you also have the wrestlers, the new generation guys at the time from Yakuza 6 to Saga Life fighting here. I think that's the right way to reuse their movesets and have them actually appear. Why not? And of course, the Amon clan appears. All 4 of them, Joe and his 3 brothers, can appear randomly on the higher end Coliseum matches. And then when you get to the 8-way death match, you can have insanity with the wrestlers showing up, the Amon clan, of course, Kamaki, Gary Buster, Majima, and a few others, and 3 variants of the tiger. You get it from the campaign. You get a reskin, a red one, and a snow-colored one. In addition to a third one being completely new, that being a lion. So I think that's just such a cool, weird feature to add, and I think Kiwami 2's Coliseum is often overlooked. And I get it with Kiryu's combat in this game, but for the context of Kiwami 2, I really don't mind it. I just wish they refined more of his Komaki moves like the old games. And, a few of his double finishers should have been modified. Just maybe make them, more visually interesting to do or engaging like the old games. But all in all, Kiwami 2's Coliseum is interesting, a lot of cool modes. Like I said, the 8-way deathmatch, having all these random high-powered characters appear, like the Abans, that can really like put you on the edge because of their freaking damage. But then you also have cool adjustments like, the fire on the floor or the electric fence around the Coliseum. Just all in all, a really strong Coliseum mode that didn't have to be as good as it needed to be, but they really, I think, made a really memorable one for me at least. At the number 3 spot, I have Yakuza 3. So Yakuza 3's Coliseum, right? Maybe it's a bit more uneven compared to later ones, but I do think that not the saving grace, but the big highlight, and this is a big one for me, and just, in addition to just how fun it is to play as Kiro in Yakuza 3 with his moveset, especially when you get him further upgraded, is this. Special Coliseum modes. Now, sure, they might count as an additional extra mode, but I still think they count. That is, you can fight bosses from the campaign. How many other Yakuza games can just freely fight bosses as you please, huh? I mean, like, besides, like, Majima, like, fighting several different bosses, even Mine can appear. And yes, Yakuza 3 has a plethora of cool modes that Kiwami 3 sadly just didn't bother doing, but when it comes to the original Yakuza 3, I love the tag team mode, especially when you and Kira and Majima can team up. You can command them different ways to fight bosses, right? You can have random matchups. Like, I think there's Hamazaki and Lao Kalong, Andre and Mine, uh, Rikia and Mikio, and then all kinds of random boss fights that could spawn in. 2v2 matches, and I think that's just such a cool feature. And if you really get into it, you can sink a lot of hours in it just alone doing that. And of course, it's just such a fun, way to experience Yakuza 3's combat a different way, a more fun, vibrant way that really is emblematic of the PS3 era, just these cool game modes to really get absorbed into. And even the standard Coliseum Yakuza 3 is still pretty fun. Maybe a bit of a grind depending on if you're in the mood for it, but I still quite enjoy it. So yeah, Yakuza 3 is at my number 3 spot for Coliseum modes. At the number 2 spot, we have the man who erased his name, aka Kiryu's Yakuza 7. You knew this one was going to pop up. At this point in the series and its fanbase, this version of the Coliseum is destined to appear in someone's top 5. But why is it at my number 2 spot? Well, there's a few reasons. Okay, when it comes to, like, how I mentioned Yakuza 3, right? That kind of PS3 era of random modes. Well, I'm happy to say that Man Who Erased His Name brought back that feeling. You can have cool modes like Dr. Minamina's upgraded IF7. I forgot the variant it's called here, but you get to fight it here, and you get to do another boss gauntlet with all of Kiryu's main bosses up to that point, besides Shishido appearing as their hologram forms. I think that's just so cool. And it takes place in Millennium Tower 2 with each boss fight having their respective final theme, so props to RGD for doing that. That's great. And then we have what is next in terms of why I like the Man Who Erased His Name's Coliseum. Again, it's a cool aesthetic being on the castle boat on the outskirts of Osaka, in the ocean. It's just ported somewhere, floating around, fireworks galore. It's a cool evolution of what Purgatory first gave us, that feeling all the way back in Yakuza on the PS2. But for Man Who Erased His Name, of course, Kiryu is just an upgraded form of his Yakuza 6 Kiwami 2 moveset. And while I like how he has the red heat and dragon mode, it's maybe not as fun as it was in Kiwami 2, depending sometimes, but Agent Style is fun because it actually works for this Coliseum mode. The other big highlight, big team battles. Yep, you can make a team of all your favorite weirdos. The Coliseum in this game has been a blessing for background footage on my channel when it comes to, doing video essays on characters like Gary Buster or Kaito, anybody, right? So, thank you, RGD, for that. But again, you get to play as Kaito, Gary Buster, Majima, Saejima, Daigo. So many random characters, Boss Gondawara. Just the list goes on, even Kamiya's there, and it's just such a great cast. However, when you're not playing as the characters you recognize from past games, you play as some of the random new guys they added. I mean, I do like playing as the fake Ryuji Goda, that is nice, but upgrading them is not bad at all. You get to actually upgrade all the characters, but again, I like it as a bit of a gimmick in hindsight because some characters just maybe aren't as fun to play as in terms of how Gaiden decided to do the move sets for these random characters you play as. Again, I get it. It didn't need to be fully fleshed out, and I wasn't expecting it to. But in terms of my personal enjoyment, unless you're playing as like the Tojo Boys or Kiryu, playing as the other characters, it's just a lot harder. And with the way that Man of Race's name builds off of the Judgment series and the past, even taking assets from Ichiban's games to build these fighters in Coliseum, sometimes I just feel like it's a different kind of jank that I can't quite put my hand on or my head on. And sometimes when you're playing as other characters, it just feels not unfair. It just feels like, damn it, I lost the fight and I have to run all the way back downstairs to just heal them. And it's like just kind of an annoyance. But besides that, again, the big team battle is fun. There's lots of random modes, like the IF7. And then when you get to you can get to fight some nice callbacks, like Akira Yamanoka appears. I guess he migrated from Purgatory and is now at the castle. So seeing him again in another game, the usual big bad of the Coliseum games, that was a nice touch. And all in all, Gaiden's Man of Race's Name's Coliseum is worthy of being at the very, very top. And for my number one spot. So, for my number one spot, if the multiple, dozens of playable characters in Man of Race's Name was pretty fun, well, I like having a more concise roster that really has fleshed out movesets. Again, not a detriment to Gaiden, but when there's a game that gives me that quality I look for, then look at Yakuza 5. So Yakuza 5 is my number one pick for favorite Coliseum modes. I think all in all, in terms of how it feels like it spans most of Japan with the 5 different cities and the Victory Road being a big component just to unlock Purgatory in the first place, not counting when you have to fight in it in the story, it's really great. And Zinkir fighting that one guy with the scars, I think his name's Raiden, I'll show the footage here. That was a cool culmination of the main Victory Road storyline here. And I think the cool feature is, whether you're playing a Shinada's a lot of fun in the Coliseum, especially the 100-man mode. That's a great mode, just to fight an army of 100 guys, right? All characters, Akiyama, Saejima, Kiryu, Shinada, they're all a lot of fun. Would have been fun if they had Haruka in there too, the Coliseum, right? But the 4 main guys, a lot of fun. And the cool thing is that you can see them rank up on the main ranking because it's like really feels like a big tournament more than ever. And it's just such a cool feature. Of course, you have to play as all of them to get them all to the top 4. I think it's just really cool. There's still some Victory Road things I need to unlock. I think in terms of I can't remember if there's a big cutscene if you get all 4 guys at the top 4, but again, it's just a fun Coliseum to sink your teeth into and get to really enjoying. Only annoying thing is that the announcer in this version talks too much. He's always shouting and you can't even hear the music. That's one problem I have. But for another positive, you got Takeya Kuruda, who for all intents and purposes, the Victory Road receptionist guy who you see throughout the game in each city. Yeah, that has to be a homage, a reference to Kiryu's voice actor, Mr. Kuruda, right? It has to be. So that's another cool, funny wink to the audience thing I like. Ringing to the audience about this legend being there, meeting the guy he voices. But all in all, I think Yakuza 5's Coliseum is one that I really like going back to. And it may be difficult sometimes, but in terms of how it incorporates Victory Road, the whole storyline, and just making Purgatory feel like it's alive more than ever, and really that was the last hurrah for Purgatory in the franchise, not counting remakes. All in all, I think that Yakuza 5 has the best Coliseum, and one that I personally enjoy going back to and relishing. But I want you guys to let me know in the comments what your favorite Yakuza Coliseum game modes are, huh? Let me know how different they are from mine. I want to hear your thoughts. So, thank you for watching. I've been Mr. Tiger Jar Films. Check out my all my other videos, and stay tuned because I got more cooking, including the finale of the Shinada show I'm working on. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Remember the Tiger Drop. Hoo-ha.